All right, Mr. Jon Arnold,
Yes,
welcome to Youngstown Studio. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I knew you were going to dress for the occasion and you were going to like...
I do. I live in a suit.
So how's everything going? Bring me up to speed. It's been a little while since I talked to you. So what's been going on?
Just all the kids are doing great. I've got a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 7-year-old, 4-year-old, which is another job because I'm a really hands-on dad. My wife's really hands-on wife. Wife's doing great. Still as beautiful as ever, maybe even more. You're supposed to go downhill when you get
no. That's
she kind of take a recipe. I wish I could get it. Everybody's healthy. We sold the real estate company to Dennis Gananis, which was a good. I think it was good. That wasn't a good fit for my personality. I'm an idiot. I mean, it was making like $22,000 a month profit. I really wasn't doing much, but it wasn't my kind of branding.
Yeah.
So Dennis he's an expert and he put the work in. So it's his, and you got Gananis Real Estate. I own the mortgage company still, but basically Ryan Freilich runs it, and you might as well say he owns it. I get like what we'll call it like a little rent check from it every month. We sold the I'm still the president of Investment Service, so they still manage the money, but I sold the company last year for, I'm going to say estimated $12 million, sold the building for $3 million. So I work about 20 hours a week now instead of 80. And that's where I'm at. I still big into jiu-jitsu, more of the MMA, fitness, and being a good dad and husband is kind of where I'm at right now.
How'd you get into jiu-jitsu and MMA? Like, where's that origin story?
The truth is I grew up north side of Youngstown, and I was always fighting. But I mean, my parents eventually moved to a country town, but for the first, I'm going to say from first grade to sixth grade, you like candor, right? I was white and I was fighting in an all black school.
Right.
Some of them were some of my best friends. That's just the way it went. But fast forward to your question is I didn't want my son to learn how to fight like I did, which was getting beat up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I took him jiu-jitsu, and one of my closest friends, his name is Joe Scarola. He's a professor of Gracie Baja down in where we live in the winter. And he was offering classes and a promotion. And so I put Jackson in there, and Jackson, he was a natural. He did really good. And then when I was waiting for him, Joe came up and I said, why don't you start doing this? And at that time, I was 238 pounds. 5'8", 238 means you're fat. And again, I don't sugarcoat things, as you know. And I was like, man, I can't play pickup basketball anymore. I can't do any more treadmill, any more stepper. I'm going to blow my brains out if I do this boring exercise more. So
right.
I was like, yeah, no problem. And I did. And like my first week, I thought I was going to die because, as you know, I do everything 100%, maybe 10th. And then they used to make fun of me because I would just go crazy. And bottom line is, the good news is like weight started to come off me. And when you start to see results, you start to get more into it and more into it, more into it. And
can you come up with the microphone a little bit?
I'm sorry. I do that all often. And then so I got better and better. And when you get better and better in something, you get more into it, and more exercise and more dieting equals less weight. And I like the aspect of potentially beating somebody in an art. And I went to the MMA portion, which is more my cup of tea. And it helped me with weight, and it helped me with mental capacity and focus. And it gave me something to, as a challenge. And anything about my jiu-jitsu, you're learning something every day. The truth is that at that time I was 43. I lost more than half of my, what we call rolls or fights, and probably more now, but it's still fun. And it depends on what the guys you're going with. You don't want to go with the maniacs. You want to stay away from those because they take it too seriously. But my age group, we're all just there for the exercise and fun. So that's how it happened.
All right. And people are surprised sometimes, like culturally, when I was young, we fought all of our friends. Yeah. Our neighborhoods were like, you had a problem, you worked it out, right? Yeah. You worked it out with your fists.
The irony, I have to interrupt you. The irony is they were your best friends after.
I'm 100%.
That's the craziest part. Like, like there was an underlying respect.
Can you imagine if some people who said half the shit that they did on social media got a knuckle sandwich on the other side of that? How
they got Facebook muscles. As you know, I've asked people to come down and we can handle.
Oh, for sure.
I've asked on Facebook.
Anybody take you up on it? Probably not. Probably never.
No one takes me up on it. That's idiotic of me. I'm a businessman. I'm a father of 4, but the fighter in me just never goes away. And hey, maybe I get my ass kicked, but we're not handling this on Facebook. We're handling this like men, and no one ever shows up.
I think the humbling experience of getting your ass handed to you once in a while, everybody needs to experience that.
A good old fashioned punch in the face does a lot of good.
Absolutely.
Or getting one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a highly competitive guy. You like to win. You construct all the games so that it's not easy. You don't take on easy things for sure.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it otherwise. Yeah. So go ahead.
So what do you got in the hopper now? You got any projects?
I'm starting a private equity fund.
Okay.
That's going to launch in June, hopefully. My attorney's getting my LP together, my PPM. One of the guys listening, I'm hoping he's going to be the CFO and help me with this. Someone I believe in 100% is Andrew Smith. We haven't talked to anybody formally. I've been throwing her around, but the investment firm, by that time will be about 2 years in the new ownership. And then I want to make sure that there's glue with the clients, because I want to abandon them. I'm going to die at the desk in our investment firm. Like the guys that I took on are really good people. They're very much like you, family man, do the right thing, really smart CFPs. But when the money business is very different. You don't just hand money over to people you don't know. Clients will leave. So I want to make sure the clients are not abandoned. I think 2 years in, a little bit over 2 years in, the glue will be there, and then I can launch a private equity fund. But the private equity fund, I'm doing it for this region, specifically Mahoning Valley, Trump, Columbian, and Trumbull. I'm also doing it for, I think that's the next level. I think that's where I belong, to go next level. So and I'm probably going to have you involved if you want to do it. That's something that's right up your alley.
Yeah. So rather than sort of like managing individual portfolios, having something where you get the best parts of doing it. I'm sure there's some really exciting, fun ways of maneuvering money, and
there's not.
It's not.
No.
So
one is boring, and two, you're guessing at it every day, and if you're wrong, you hurt somebody. It sucks.
All right. So what's the challenge in this? What do you think your biggest
the challenge is like you got to get businesses that you're buying to cooperate to your number. And see, here's what makes it so appetizing. I have a bunch of businesses I have what's called red herrings on that are interested, and they're successful against their will. Their balance sheets are on napkins. They're on DOS. They're on DOS, literally. And they're profiting ridiculous numbers with a poor management system, poor accounting, poor operations, and they're still kicking ass. And I'm thinking, man, if we just did this 50% right, one, we're taking over a profitable business already. One, it already has a clientele and a base. And then I have like a little term that I created, which is expected revenue outcomes. So we're going after things that have already expected revenue outcomes, things that have subscriptions to them, things that already have a base clientele, X amount of profitability. What makes a business so dangerous is when you have to rely on people to walk in. That firsthand. Yeah. So, if the economy's shot, or if there's bad branding, or if you have a bad manager, you got to hope that people are still walking in the door, and you got to charge at least 300% on the product or service just to make profit, right? Because you got taxes, you got product costs, you got revenue costs, or operational costs, and then to make it worth your while after the taxes, you want to make at least 1/3. So you have to hope that you're attractive enough service or product wise to attract people in the door. With companies that have expected revenue outcomes, like I don't want to give the farm away,
sure,
but things that have a subscription to them, things that have a membership to them, in addition to people walking in the door, that's something I think is very valuable. And so we're going after those. We're going after needs, not wants, things that AI can't penetrate. And if they can, it's going to be like Star Wars stuff, like 100 years from here, won't matter to us. So, and then, our goal is to obviously sell it to a more lucrative private equity fund. Ours will start out with 100 million. We probably will sell for 500 to 700 million. And the companies that will buy us, the PE firms will buy us, will be worth billions.
Right.
And they just buy them on the numbers. But the goal is Youngstown will get a win. I say Youngstown, I mean the Tri-Valley. Jon Arnold will get a win. That's where I belong in that space. And the new buyers will get a win. And more importantly, the people that just want out but don't have a buyer, they're going to get a win too. So that's something I'm into. I'm into all parties winning. I'm not the kind of guy that, I can't shit on people and wake up in the morning and feel good about myself.
Right.
That's a flaw, I think, in my personality, because there a lot of good businessmen and women are ruthless. They are just bottom line numbers, which is what PE companies are. I'm going to be a PE company, more of a common sense and more of a heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that's a weakness, but I think it's also a strength.
And are these companies going to be Ohio based? Or are they going to be all over?
They're all over, but I prefer Ohio based because I'm a micromanager type of guy. You know, I have a certain brand. I'm the kind of guy that if you're a manager in my company, or you're wearing a suit and tie, your car's clean, you have a nice car. You know, you're not having domestic issues, you're not having drinking issues. Like kind of a unicorn nowadays, but in order for that to happen, when the cat's away, the mouse will play. Guarantee it. I'm going to be the bobcat going. I'm going to be traveling weekly, making sure that managers are making our brand the way, you know, what it is. We're going to overpay them like we always do. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a win for all parties.
Yeah, that was a big surprise. Like we would meet with companies pretty regularly, and you expect one thing where companies got their stuff figured out, and like you said, that in spite of all of their failures, they still make money. The emotional peels and the people who get into gambling addiction and the people who are almost trying to destroy their companies just based on their behaviors. That was the biggest surprise of how many really deficient companies there really are surrounding us.
Isn't it? If you've dug into them, it's like, how are you still in business? But not only you've been in business 50 years and you got people walking in the door, this place, like I wouldn't let my dog live in here.
Right.
And you got people constantly walking in here buying your product at not cheap prices. Or I should, this is bad, we're inexpensive prices. So at the end of the day, it's like, man, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the opportunity for me is one, profitability wise, I see opportunity. And I want to keep this, I want to keep our area working.
Yeah, for
sure. I want to keep, it's something I love about you. Since I met you, you're a doer. You're not a sayer. And I think you would reciprocate the same about me. Like,
absolutely.
You've seen it. I said, I'm going to do this job.
Yeah, we get along. We're a lot alike. I will tell you that.
I mean, there's a lot of people that talk a lot of big game, and to be honest with you, they talk a lot of shit. And in the end of the day, it's half-assed or it doesn't come through. And
right.
We're kind of like the epicenter of that. You're a doer. You said, I'm going to do these things and this is how I'm going to do it, and end up doing it. And that's why you got people like my boy, BJ Lisco, working here. Right. So I'm the same thing. Yeah. I told you what I was going to do years ago when we first met, and I did it. And that's what I plan on still doing with these new companies. Now,
the cultural shift where, we see everything from like successions where you have second generation just don't run business the way that the creators did, and taking and instructing the next generation of how to create a business, how stick to it, how hard it really is. Like, are you seeing a change where we just have a soft entrepreneurs versus what we did maybe 10, 15 years ago?
I see it twofold. One, very soft. What's happened is like my mom and dad raised me really strict. Like I had to say yes, not yeah. I had to bale hay. I had to, if I wanted better clothes than hand-me-downs or Kmart clothes, I had to. It's kind of embarrassing. The truth is, my parents were like, if you want something better than what we're going to give you, Ben's Restaurant's down the street, you can wash dishes. And guess what I did?
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, from my house, it was a 3.3 mile bike ride down Heiser Road, left on Bedell, here at Ben's, back forth. So not only did I have to wash dishes or go to football practice, then I had that bike ride. The cool thing is it made me faster on the football field, but I didn't know that at the time. But my point is my parents were hardcore.
Yeah.
And they did it because their parents were even harder. And so what happened is I think the new generation that was born in those late 90s, they didn't want that for their kids. They felt bad and they got soft. And then those kids had kids and they got soft. And so now the generation of entrepreneurs are this second generation Twinkies. But here's something I will tell you. Those kids are smarter than us. Those kids have a backbone when it comes to money that's better than us. You and I, were willing to work for $4 an hour. We were willing to do whatever it took to have some gas money and some going out money and walking around money. These kids will sit in their basement and play video games all day.
Yep.
And they don't even give a shit if they see another kid.
Yep.
Me, I was like, man, if I wasn't playing basketball, football, pick up something, chasing girls, doing teenage havoc, I was bored. I like Sega Genesis and PlayStation like the rest of them, but after about an hour, that got old.
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't like myself after because I felt like all the time I pissed away playing that game and got nothing in return for it.
So now it's ingrained in your DNA.
Yep.
The opposite's happened is that it's ingrained in their DNA. They want the soft way out, the easy way out. They don't want to put hardship on their bodies. And they also think that they're worth a lot more than they really are. Here's the problem. The baby boomers are dying off. We are getting older. We can't perform a lot of those dudes or as sharp as these kids, and these kids know it. They are sharp.
Yes,
like the interns. I was talking about this on my own show the other day with Ron. The interns that work for us are 100 times smarter than I was at 19, 20. The things they know, the concepts they know, investment wise. I didn't know like 2 years when I was already licensed or in the industry. They know. They do nothing but read, study, and watch YouTube videos for instruction. Or I don't know what those TikToks, I guess, whatever those are. You know what those are. I know. To me, that's juvenile, but that's the way of the world, I guess. But they're always learning and they're always competing against each other on the mental side. So it's not I think it's a combo of like they're soft, but also what they're willing to accept. Where you and I were willing to accept delivering pizzas. And like I remember as a busboy at Captain's Table, man, if I came home with $60 in my pocket cash, I felt like a king. You know what I mean? These kids, they wouldn't be like, you're gonna pay me $4 an hour and some tips, and you're gonna work me like a slave all day? Yeah, right. Get out of here. And that's their attitude. So I think that's what we're up against. So we got to find a happy medium. And I think money talks, but more importantly, time off. Time is valuable to them. Then they don't believe in a 40-hour, 50-hour work week. And I try to tell them, because young entrepreneurs come to me, like to come to you and say, you know, what's the key to success? I said, really, my key was work harder than your opponent. Have a competitive advantage. You know, be different. Be willing to make that phone call. Be willing to ask for that money, that close, that product sale, versus the person that gives up to me. But they don't really buy into that. So they are more about, let me work 25 hours a week versus 40. Let me pay me the same as a 40, and hopefully you believe in my result. And that's hard for me to, and that's hard for anybody that grew up like us to accept. That's an opinion. I can't prove that, but that seems to be the way.
Yeah. Do you think that math could ever work out if they go to a 4-day work week and
it's
less
coming.
hour day? You think so?
It's not an opinion. It's coming. It drives me insane.
Now, do you think I think that out of an 8-hour workday, typically you get about 50% performance out of them. So you're really only working 4 hours. So if you convert that and say it's only 25, but I want to see afterburners for that entire time, do you think we can get enough value out of people with less time?
I think, but both cultures have to shift. The employer, us, and the employee with a mindset to get to a win-win. Here's the thing: convincing them to get them there. I think most important in any environment is culture, and unless they're willing to stay to develop the culture to be, I don't like to say brainwash because it's a bad term, but to model them where you want them. You got to get them to stay at least 18 months at least to buy in. Because once they get a taste of that paycheck, once they get a taste of, hey, I'll walk in with a suit and people treat me different, people treat me with respect versus, raggedy jeans and a concert t-shirt. If they don't hang on long enough to get the respect, they're like, I'm just going to move on to somebody else who won't let me do that. So it's a matter of really got a bottleneck. If you watch corporate America has the blueprint. I don't know if they will interview 10,000 people and they'll have 6 interviews before they make the yes decision. That's why they have advisory boards. That's why by the time you get to the hiring manager, you've had 5 managers with their feedback saying, okay, we think this on a scale of 1 to 10, this is our 10, and this is our 9, and this is our 8. If we can get this 10, beautiful, but here's our 2 backup plans. Everybody else, dog shit, they're out. That's what corporate America is doing. So corporate America has figured it out, and they'll put the blueprint right in front of you. Now, here's where they got us, a small business. Do we have the time or the hiring capacity to do that? And that answer is no.
Yeah. So
we got to take more of a chance and more of a trial and error. And that's the challenge you get as a business owner, as a small business owner.
Yep.
Would you agree with all that?
Oh, totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. The shift that's going to happen is going to be huge disruptive. And it's not just an AI, but the culture in general is going to be way different.
And then it will go to 3. Then it will go to mandatory work from home.
Yep.
That you could see the slippery slope. You could see the culture changing. But what's going to happen is like, when I go to, I hate going to restaurants, especially fast food. Like even this morning, my order was wrong. I ended up with, I don't know how somebody cannot, you look at a receipt and say, this goes in this bag, but I ended up with an extra 3 sausage McMuffins. And I'm thinking as a business owner, man, I'd be so pissed if I owned that McDonald's. I got 3.
Gave away.
And obviously it wasn't a bad thing, but I was thinking 9 times out of 10, I actually don't get the order I want. But this time I got the order I wanted, but 3 extra items, which is insane to me. And then I'm watching this lady. She dropped the silver stir that goes in the coffee. And I thought it was going in the sink, but I literally watched her put it right back into the container. I'm like, I wanted to jump to the window. What the heck is wrong with you? How hard is it to walk that to the sink? But that's where we're at.
Do you think it's like lack of caring where they just don't care?
There's 2 things. It's lack of care. And they're thinking like, what are you going to do? Fire me? There's not another one of me walking through the door. They got all the leverage right now. They know it. They know it.
Right.
And then these soft parents have said, don't worry if you quit, if you don't, we'll make sure you get by. And that's the problem. I mean, there's something that no one's talking about here that I live. The transition of wealth is going on. So many baby boomers are inheriting money, and these baby boomers are indicting. And guess who's inheriting that money? These kids. So they got, not trust fund kids. They're kids that are like 27, 28 years old and inheriting $500,000 from their mom and dad simply because our country's getting older. And they're like, screw it. Like, all right, fire me. I have money to live. I have money to live. I don't need a 3,000 square foot house with a manicured acre. I don't need that. They'll live in a doghouse before they'll succumb to corporate America living. That's their mindset. And so we got to figure out. We got to figure out how to fix that.
Yeah. Do you think those just become consumers who are just going to blow through that, or do you think they're investors where they're going to buy businesses, invest in the stock market, buy real estate, something like that?
Everything is scaled.
Yeah.
Everything is scaled now. So, like I said, corporate America's got the Pareto blueprint to where if you lose 20%, the 80% will carry you. And then it'll fulfill the rest of the 20% gap with higher quality customers. And then, so, something that people don't know, corporate America has actuaries and algorithms that you don't see for like 2 or 3 years as a consumer. They have millions of dollars to buy into these super scientists, these people like you that know the technology. They know your buying decisions. They know what you're going to buy, how many times you're going to look before you make a purchase, what you're willing. That's what's going on with inflation right now. Inflation is not on supply and demand right now. Inflation is based on the employer, the corporate America knows they can run the limit up. They can run the 2x4 to this cost before you'll buckle. They know you will just say, screw it, and buy from Home Depot this widget or that widget or this lumber before going to Carter and before going to wherever to maybe get it cheaper. To them, it's not. They figured out that it's not. That's Walmart figured out. It's not worth your time to go store to store. People become lazy. They want instant gratification, and they would rather pay a 20-30% inflationary upcharge than go store to store. So what's going to happen is the corporate America has this figured out. It's called just-in-time accounting. And now we've moved into what's called just-in-time inventory. Do you remember 10 years ago, you can go in a store and 99% of the time they had it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of e-commerce and because of accounting, the purchasing manager will figure out to the cent how much it's going to cost somebody to keep inventory versus order it and how long the consumer is willing to wait until they get it and pay more. Mm-hmm. They have us where they want us right now. And the only disruptor is going to be a major recession. And then unfortunately that is coming, but corporate America is going to make their number until that happens. That's what they do. Everything is just in time. Go ahead.
Now, more on a national deal, the stock market, inflation. What do you think the effects of the tariffs are on? Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Looking precipice of record highs in the stock market, inflation threats and whatever. It doesn't seem like anybody's overreacting at this point. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it kind of feeds into what I talked to you just now, that corporate America has. They have that exact algorithm where they know what the consumer is willing to do. 20% are going to fall if they know the 80% is going to carry them and fill the 20% gap that we're missing, even with the cost increase. So they're working harder, or they're working less, providing less, but making more money. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is look at a Home Depot EPS, earnings per share, or a ratio, or see their balance sheet, and it's all public knowledge because they're a publicly traded company. Their balance sheet, their income, their cash flow is growing every month, every quarter. And guess what? Prices keep rising. Service keeps going down. Inventory keeps being less. Yet people keep buying, right? Mm-hmm. There's also, I can't prove this. I have no data that proves, but I think there's a secondary subconscious feeling amongst buyers now after COVID. So they got that effort. They got that effort attitude where I'm going to die anyway. People have like, you know what? I see my mom and dad work all their life, catch this virus, or get stranded into a long-term care facility and I can't even visit them. Then they die for what? A whole life lived, grandkids, kids, did all the right decisions, and you just get shit on because of a virus. I think people got to the point, mental capacity wise, subconsciously, like, you know what? F it. If I go to the grave with zero, who cares? If I go bankrupt, bankruptcy laws are in place. If the economy goes to shit, the government's going to step in and save the day like they always do. I think what's happened is we've created that cushion, too much of that mental cushion. The people are like, I'm buying, I don't care. And I hate it. because it's not realistic. There's an absolute inflation recessionary bomb that's going to drop. How I know is we have people work at our company that make really good money. They're making their bills, and that's where the conversation stops. Credit card companies have them over a barrel at 33%. Some of them, all-time credit card highs, all-time credit card high balances, all-time credit card forfeitures. Used car repossessions are all-time highs.
That's a bomb.
If you look, there's a bomb coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it's a bomb. I hope that Trump gets it handled. But my point is I kind of hope I didn't dance around your question.
No,
I wanted to give you my feelings where things are at, and I'm scared. I'm flat out scared because I know when things are too good to be true. This really feels like 1999 all over again. 1999 was the end of the Clinton bull market, coming off the online presence, and all of a sudden there's that online web craziness. Come to find out, those papers a year later, those companies weren't worth the paper they are written on. Like literally, the stock paper those shares were on weren't even worth that. And it just, something feels too good to be true right now.
So of the big three, which do you think is the bigger bomb? Student loan debt, consumer debt, or real estate? Which one's going to be the catalyst?
By a landslide. Here's what I love about real estate is real, and God's not making any more of it, right? So real estate, I think, is going to be just fine. Yeah, is it going to, like right now, we got an inventory problem, we got an interest rate problem. People think that 6.5% interest rates are high. They're not. They're normal.
But you don't think mortgages are no, not at all.
You don't get another 2007 coming. No.
Got it.
One, the regulators have forced the mortgage, and Kim might have a mortgage company. So the regulators have forced the mortgage companies, the underwriting, to be stricter than it really should.
Right.
So these people that have these mortgages have backup plans.
They're solid.
Yeah, their LTVs are in line. What happened is in 2007, 2008, the loan to values were way down. You had homes that were like 50% leveraged. They might be worth 300 on paper. They had equity loans against them worth $700,000, right?
Oh.
They were interest-only loans. They were 5-year arms. Like these were pieces of time. These were pieces of paper that were time bombs. And that's because, again, the greed. People were looking the other way. That's not what's happening here. You're always going to have foreclosures. Yeah, it might right now, because people are running, I might get a little bit hairy, but it's not on 2007. Real estate is solid. What was your other question? Student loans. Government's going to step in and save the day. It's just the way it is. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. You made a promissory note, which means you made a promise. You got a liberal arts degree. It's worth nothing. That's your problem, not mine. Government's going. And here's the problem with paying off student loans. You reset the clock every 3 years anyway, right? You could pay off everybody's student loans. These colleges, including the one down the street, are going to charge more. They're going to fulfill the student loan because that's how they remain in business. You're getting the same education you were getting 10 years ago. But guess what? In 4 years, you owe a student loan. And so you're going to have to keep doing it. So they got to figure this thing out.
Well, I read an article over the weekend that they were going to put some limitations on the values of the loans and have it connected to the type of studies that you're doing.
As they should.
And controlling interest, which I think that's great for the consumer, so it doesn't get this predatory feel to it. But limiting it so you don't take an $800,000 loan against a liberal arts degree that there's no way anybody would invest in
this degree equals this much money.
Exactly.
Period. And that's how it should be.
Yep.
And you can blame, and listen, I don't blame the students. They have a dream. They have a want. The universities are charging these astronomical rates.
Right.
Youngstown State University has one of the best business colleges in the country. Williamson College of Business. You look at their accreditation, you look at the curriculum, you're going to get a fair tuition with them. Now, you go to Syracuse, and I'm just making a number up. Instead of $25,000, it's going to cost you $80,000. How do you justify? What's the gap? I'll tell you what it is. Especially Ivy League schools, you go into the human resource manager and you have Syracuse on your diploma, or Notre Dame or Penn. You're getting hired because it's the good old boys club. You got Youngstown State, which is just as good of a curriculum. Oh, it's Youngstown State. That sucks, but that's life.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on here. No one's talking about the real. I want these. I would love to talk to a provost or a president or the advisory board or the board of trustees, to any of these colleges, and say, justify to me why to graduate from you it costs $180,000 in 4 years versus this decent school down the street where it might cost you $40,000. Justify to me the $110,000 difference. And I factually, in black and white, they cannot do that. It's a popularity contest. It's the fraternity. It's to say, well, so-and-so graduated from Penn, so we're going to look for Penn graduates. It's ridiculous. Me, I want the person flying the plane or performing heart surgery the best of what they do. I'm actually always looking for the person as the least has achieved the most. That's what I'm after. I'm after a person that's rode the storms out, who wasn't a silver spoon kid, who still accomplished as much as the silver spoon kid. That's the person you want in your corner. So again, I'm all about the facts. I'm all about the bottom line. Show me the car facts. Show me the baby. I don't care about the bitching and whining in the pot. Show me the baby. That's who I am.
So retail debt, is that your big catalyst? You think that's what's
I don't even
going?
think it's retail debt. It's debt.
Just debt.
It's just debt. You know, you and I do well, but the truth is look at that. What's the average income here in this county? Is like joint 48,000. That's mom and dad in this area. Think about that. Think about that. That's $4,000 a month after taxes. You're clearing 32. After healthcare, you're clearing like 28, 27. House payments $1,200. Insurance is another $3. Cars maybe another $5. Groceries, utility. What's left? What's left? And that's what scares me. And that's if we're hurting and we have some of those costs living in this area. If we're hurting, who do you think? Who else is hurting in Kentucky? Who else is hurting in Arkansas? Get what I mean?
That's a lot of people too.
A lot of people.
And so what's the solution? Have you heard anybody floating anything that puts a dent in that? Because minimum wage is not going to do it. Raising minimum wage is...
That's so dumb. First of all, you're not getting any kind of employee for less than 15, 18 bucks an hour. No one's paying less than 15, 18 unless they're making snow cones. All right, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
So the minimum wage thing is irrelevant, right? That's just something to make, that's for voter population, for the Dems to get voters. Look what we did. We got to guarantee minimum wage. Who cares? Well, here's what you need to do. You need to make it very appetizing for a small company to pay somebody 32 bucks an hour. I posted something on Facebook the other day. I think we're just getting started now. No, Trump, since the tariffs, and he hasn't really gone full boat on the tariffs, right?
Right.
Trump has already raised over $80 billion in tariff revenue, right? Where's that $80 billion going to? We're just getting started. Now imagine if he raised $300 billion. Let's take an interest rate of 5%. Let's hope to God, whoever's managing those finances with a 4% money market, can they make an extra 1% somewhere? They give you 5%. Take that 5%. You bring 50 employees over here. Here's a $5 million check. And your kitty, you hire these 50 employees. We're going to cover payroll or building or whatever. 100 companies. I'm just making stuff up. We're going to give you $10 million. We're going to buy your building. We're going to pay off your debt. There's got to be an exchange of value for these tariffs. It can't just go to the government and blindly
in a general fund and then it's gone again.
And it sucks because every 4 years, if the Republicans don't get in, it's going to be money spent. Anybody wants to challenge me on that? Look at what Elon covered up in 2 months. Uncovered. I mean, it's insane. I don't. Here's what's happening. America has been blindfolded or just doesn't care because they're worried about, and I'm one included, taking my kids to soccer practice, dance practice, being a good dad, eating out, being a family man, soccer, or on some kind of camp. Just for me personally, let me watch Ohio State football. Let me go down to Youngstown State and hang out with the team. Like, I'm so involved with life and things that I enjoy. Right before my very eyes, the government's just literally destroying us. They're putting their thumb on me more and more and more. And I realize it. Now, what about the people who don't? And the government's got us exactly where they want us. And that's what's going on. They have you delusional all day. And a lot of it just being a human. And before you know it, they've passed laws and they've got you under the thumb so bad that now you're trapped. And that's why I'm against socialism. That's why I'm against /communism. That's why I'm against anything that you're forcing your hand too much. We're a limited government society. We're supposed to be. The government isn't supposed to save the day. The government, we created a limited government country for a reason. And that's why we developed out of World War II as the super powerhouse. And when the skyscrapers came about out of necessity, right? So great things are created in really desperate times because there's a need, right? When you get soft and weak and things are going good, that's when companies like countries like India and China catch up to us, which used to be third world. Now they're beating us. Look at the Indian culture, the high-end Indian culture, which by the way is a caste system. Their kids, there's no dances, there's no proms, there's no going out, there's no talking down, there's study time. There is only getting ahead. Look at our doctors, those from Indians. There's a reason, because those people put in the work, they're disciplined. I'm going down a bunch of different paths here, but the truth is we're getting left behind and no one's doing a damn thing about it. It drives me nuts. I'm the opposite. Tell you the truth, I can buy my kids anything I want. Everything at our house is earned. iPad time, video games. They got to clean up the dog poop because we got them a dog. They got chores. They get Sundays off. You know, I run I think a fair but balanced curriculum, but it's also very firm, because my kids, if things do fall apart, they're going to be okay. So,
yeah. What kind of dog did you get, by the way?
Saint Bernard.
Did you really? Yeah. You like it? Is it a puppy?
No, I got him 2 years ago. He's a 180-pound puppy, but he's 2 years old. They're I've always had Saint Bernards. They're amazing dogs. They're amazing. The only thing about this Saint Bernard, he's a family person only. Like, doesn't like strangers. He doesn't bite you, but he's got to warm up to you. Got eye anxiety. Other dogs, you would think he has rabies. He is just one of those dogs that he doesn't want to see another dog. We take him to trainers. We give him Prozac, literally. He's got prescribed Prozac. He is still going to tear apart the dog. He's getting in a fight. And so we have
John. He's a little like you. Little like you.
So I'm calming down in my old age. Yeah. This dog takes it to another level, but he's an unbelievable dog. So there you go.
Yeah. We were talking in earlier show about the curriculum in schools, and the parents having a little bit more of a say in what they opt out of. The 6-3 decision last week about the
who's 3 idiots. Go ahead. Let me talk to this kid about transgender craziness. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but as a parent, and you want to instill that sort of like that ethic into them, and you've got a school that's working in counter to making a productive kid when they, whatever. Like how much of that does your family take on you and your responsibility versus what you think the school should handle?
Well, there's a couple things here to pass. One, I'm going to answer your question directly. We subscribe to 2 private schools. So down in Florida, we're at the Harvey Institute, which is no nonsense, really, really fun school, but the curriculum's hard. We're preparing them for life and for college. Nancy, she has none of that nonsense. It's not even talked about. And there's a reason for it. So we're lucky in the fact that we live in North Lima, South Range. I mean, that school still has all American values, Christian values somewhat. I know you can't say that because the school's separation of church and state, but I think it's generally an old school fundamental. We're going to teach kids the right way community, and I love that. So even if we didn't go to private school, I got this awesome school to go to, which about half mile down the road from me. But up here, we also go to we have a Christian school that we go to. And that's where my 2 girls are going to go. Jackson's going to go South Range. And again, taking into account what you said, I think the Board of Education for most schools, public, they've gone insane. So we don't participate and we don't chance it. So as a parent, it's up to me how the kids turn out, right? So my kids at 19, 20, if they turn out to have nose rings and blue hair and, they're filled with tattoos and they can't get a decent job, I can say I did my part. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so we take that very, very seriously. And let me tell you something. You see those Facebook videos where guys get in the face of the board of trustees or the school board. I'm that guy. I'm telling you, I'm that guy. I am getting thrown out by the police. You're going to have some crazy lunatic liberal talk to me about, you want to talk about transvestites and some weirdo lady doing basically half naked, I don't know, in front of my 4-year-old to teach him about, I don't know, what are those people called, that drag queens? Like, that's insane to me. That was never brought up when I was growing up in public schools. That should have never, and it wasn't. And now we're at a slippery slope where the crazy people have actually taken control. So you have 2 options. One, I'm in a fist fight every week, or we just exit out and we go down the channel of private school. We know the curriculum, we know the leadership, we know where they're going. But I'm also under the understanding that I know that I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. And a lot of people don't have those means. So that's what my scare is. We really need to get our school systems back in order. What's that? Peterson, the podcast guy,
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, yeah. Awesome. He has the guy that, he's talking about reforming the public schools. Our public school system was designed to create steel mill workers. That back when that public school, they were designed to give the minimum. And then most of the kids graduated, went and did the steel mill worker or hard labor. And then they married a girl. They live happily ever after and hopefully got a pension and died. Times have changed. severely underpay our teachers, severely. We've taken every leadership capacity away from our public school teachers, from the superintendent down. The parents have coddled it. Lawyers have gotten away. At the end of the day, like this is an embarrassing story. I remember my high school football coach, who's also my history teacher, picking me up by my neck because I was in a fist fight in the hallway, and I was mouthing off. I was calling the kid I was trying to beat up awful vulgar name. And my Mr. Topoleski picked me up by my neck, and he had a couple of, and I settled ground real quick. Now here's what I was afraid of: my parents finding out. I was afraid of my parents. I was afraid. I wasn't going home to my parents and saying, Mr. Topoleski told me to settle F down and pick me up by my neck. What I was praying for is no one called my parents for Mr. because I was getting worse at home.
Yeah.
Mr. Topoleski had no fear of being sued or losing his job. Now, these teachers want to do the bare minimum, do the curriculum, because they're afraid. You've taken all the leadership capacity from, and you got teachers graduating with a lot of student loans. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of expectations. And honestly, some of them make less money than some servers at Applebee's. It's just not fair. Now, by the time you get to tenure and by the time you put your years in, actually, your wife's a teacher, so you concur.
Oh, yeah.
So why would you be a teacher right now? Seriously, you're going to go through 10 years being underpaid, and then you're going to be treated like shit to whatever.
And frustrated.
And all you want to do is why you became a teacher in the first place is because you care.
Yep.
No one goes to school to be a teacher for money.
No.
It's not like a lawyer, a doctor, or an entrepreneur. There's certain occupations, I believe, that should be middle of the road or even slightly left. Caring, heart, that you are not treating those people fairly. So I think we completely need to revamp the system, the city budgets, and saying, you don't even need a teachers union anymore. We're going to pay you so well and treat you so good that you're going to love your job again. The only thing in return is we want you to treat these kids like they're your own. How would you want your kids being taught? And if you do that, you have a job here for life. And we got away from it. It's become a truly 9-to-5, horrible, hazardous job. Especially if you look at some of the city schools, there's students literally beating up teachers, threatening teachers. Where I went to school, that happens for about 10 seconds, and then you're powdered. Now it's the opposite. So so I went on down that path. I think I was going to cover another path, but I forget. But that's where I'm at on public schools. The whole system needs transformed.
All right, so let me give you the challenge in that department. You tell me how you would solve this. So my wife and I, we had the idea to open up a school and compete with high schools because we wanted to make sure, like, by the time my kid graduated, there was a place that I believed in how it worked. And when we went all through the process of what the state and federal regulations are for a private school, two things they do to you. Number one, they limit the funding that you can get. Public funding is almost nothing. You'd have to make it 100% tuition based because you're only going to get 50% of what the public school. So you're at a disadvantage.
You're going to get even that?
If that,
okay.
Yeah. It's hard to even get that.
Go ahead.
And then they make their ratios of how many students per administrator or teacher lopsided. So the public school gets a strict advantage, both financially and from a labor standpoint. Absolutely. So if you open up a private school, you're not going to be able to pay anybody anything. So it's going to be dog shit for sure. So how do you break the control of the teachers unions and the Department of Education? And so there's competition against the public school. So there's alternatives,
The answer to that question is, you ever see the movie Higher Learning? There was this African-American professor who was coaching up these two black kids, a young, beautiful woman, and I want to say Omar Epps was the other guy. Anyways, I'm going somewhere with this weird story. Okay, I promise.
No, it's all good.
And what happened is like they felt like they weren't getting ahead because the white coach was favoring the white players, and they kept asking for this professor's help, and the professor just said, "Be better. You got to be better." My answer to and the moral of the story is they both ended up being physically and practicing more and working harder and being better. And there was no denying they were the best on the team. The coach had no choice but to start them and award them, the white coach. What the moral of the story is you're falling into a trap here where you're trying to compete in an uncompetitive, like it'd be me trying to fight a professional fighter in MMA. No matter how much I train, no matter at 50 years old, I'm going to get my ass killed. You're competing against a 10-foot monster.
Yep.
You have to be better. You have to provide a curriculum and a course that's far superior to the public school system, to where it's worth somebody paying college tuition prices to get into your school. That is the answer. And that's the 3-year journey that you have. That's the problem. So like, I want to say Kurt Petrie is doing some kind of investment fund or hedge fund. I think you're involved with him of some kind. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm off base.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm completely off
That's okay.
base. My point is, you are going to have to raise money on your own, and you're going to have to bottleneck it down. So we're saying we're capping this at 30 kids per grade, but you're going to pay an enormous amount of money. But I promise you this, when your kid graduates in 4 years, college is going to be begging for him or her to sign up, begging. So your payback, you're paying, call it Joe Danyi and Debbie Danyi's institutional learning. Just make a name, all right. The payback is you're going to get scholarships and free rides, right, to these institutions that want you become a brand. You become a brand. Here's the problem: just like any small business, that 3 to 5 year window of proving yourself and scraping by, that's the challenge. That's how you do it.
That's right.
You have to be better, but you also have to charge more to where you don't. Never count on the state to do anything for you. Never.
Don't play that game.
Never.
Don't get stuck in their weave.
You're one. They got you over just like Pope. They got them under their thumb. They got them on their thumb. I'm sure the principals and superintendents want to run things their way, but if the state wants their way, that's what we have. We have this little. You got this little thing over your head, piece of gold, this gold nugget that you need, and if you don't obey by our rules, then you're out. So, Mike, I apologize. Back from the microphone. My answer to you is be better and focus on the clientele you will. I know I want to say Western Reserve County in Hudson does that. But they're not cheap. They're college tuition. They got their capacity, max capacity waiting list every year. So this area, the problem with this area is the same way I was going to start concierge medicine here. It will never work.
Not enough disposable.
There's not enough disposable income. There's not enough. It's more of culture thinking. Our kid goes to Ursuline, our kid goes to Cardinal Mooney, good enough. And the truth is, they're good. They are good. I know what you're after. You're after greatness.
Big time.
You're after greatness. It's going to come at a cost.
Yeah. I want MIT students coming out of my high school.
Exactly. And it's a whole different bottleneck. So that's the answer from my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, competition does solve a lot of those problems, but somebody's got to put themselves on the hook to do it great, like you said. So that's good. What else is on the horizon? Anything that you wanted to talk about that I haven't brought up yet?
No, I came down here with an open slate, open mind, and I just like on my radio show. People don't know this. I'm coming into the studio or calling in almost late every time. Ron Verb and I don't discuss literally nothing in the beginning, and I purposely do that because I want it to be heartfelt. I want the message to come across 100% transparent, no salesmanship, and that's what I came down here today with you. I just want to come here as an open book.
Shoot the shit a little bit. See what
maybe people can learn about me and my views. Maybe they think I'm an asshole. Maybe they think I'm a genius. I don't care. But you're going to get 100% what's on my heart.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people that come into this area. They make good and they stay here and invest their money here and believe in this area. Like, what is it about this place? You can operate anywhere across the country. Why here?
Well, to tell you the truth, one, it was needs based. I mean, I grew up with lower middle class. I don't want to say lower middle because it paints a picture of my parents not giving me enough. My parents did just fine, but like the idea of me going to Disneyland or Disney World or that dream vacation, that didn't exist in our house. Like so we would be in our area middle class. So for me, is like when I graduated college, it was either go find a corporate paycheck or create your own deal. I didn't have the money to go to Tennessee or South Carolina and open up a firm and probably $30 a square foot plus cam, the payroll here. The one thing I love about this area is you have a chance here. Yeah. You're obviously working against the volume of money here, but you have an absolute chance because the square footage on buildings, everybody knows each other. There's a certain presence here. I think if you did a SWOT analysis on this area, the key strength is the people. Right. I travel all over the country. We live in Jupiter, Florida half the year. The people are like, man, you're just different. And they're like, you're so nice. And you're like, so like hardworking and you're so down to earth. And I'm thinking, well, that's where I'm from. Everybody's like this. We're not doing an act. Like, we don't know how to be different if we wanted to. And that's the value of this people is, one, if you know we're multicultural, like you got a lot of Greek, you got African American, you got Puerto Rican, you got all kind of different nationalities, especially Italian, Irish. We all work together because we have to, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a plus for us. So the reason why I stayed here is, one, out of necessity, and two, I thought my human capital was great here, and it turned out, I think it is. I have dreams and aspirations of probably doing a private equity firm, another one down in Jupiter, Palm Beach, which is the second wealthiest zip code in the entire country. But that comes at challenges. The wealthy people are wealthy for a reason. You're competing against wealthy people all day long, ultra smart. A lot of them from New York, New Jersey, their way, their highway. So it comes at a price. You're going to make a lot more money. You're going to work way harder. The competition is going to be way more streamlined. So that's the answer that's the brutal honesty is out of necessity. And I like working with normal people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I love this conversation. Yep. Talking with you is amazing. We'll have to do this again.
Man, time's up already, huh?
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
That was an hour. An hour slipped by super quick, didn't it?
Maniac, yeah.
All right, thanks, Jon. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.